Is there life after Myles Jack? Mark Rogers TV continuing to go through the positions by position in the Pac 12 and specifically at UCLA with Mike Regalado of Go Joe Bruin. Mike, it's unfortunate that despite the mark that Myles Jack left on college football, becoming a star, moving on to the league, and hopefully the knee holds up and he can show what he's all about at the next level. When you really look at it, he only gave us 2 seasons, and it's almost, I know you're at a point where the program may really take off from here, but it's almost what might have been for Myles Jack winning big at UCLA.
Yeah, exactly. Jack was a huge loss. Mid-season, after the season, it was expected that he was going to opt for the NFL after his junior year, but 3 games in, injures his knee. He's done for the season. He doesn't even play in the conference, and they sorely needed him, especially with the horrendous run defense. And it just cannot be understated how much UCLA missed him. The guy could cover wide receivers. He could wasn't the best pass rusher, but was able to do it. He had good pursuit. So. And then when he hit people, oh man, they just their kids would feel it. So it's just huge losing him. Just like Kenny Clark on the defensive line, losing Myles Jack as well was just it just hurt. Luckily there was Tom Bradley scrambled a little bit, and unfortunately he had to make some of the defense vanilla. So we're going to see exactly what happens. This year going into the 4-3, but last year after losing Jack, it was basically trying to patch up the holes in the linebacker position. But yeah, there's some young guys that came up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, surprisingly, as we talked about before we came on, Aaron Wallace turned into one of the more productive players in the conference, 12.5 tackles for loss and 7 sacks. He moves on to the NFL. So let's set it up with Jayon Brown, 93 tackles at linebacker and a couple tackles for loss. He kind of leads things in regards to at least the experienced guys.
No, exactly. He actually came out of nowhere a little bit. His effort was just outstanding. When Myles Jack went down, one of the first things he tweeted was "next man up." And we got that with Jayon Brown. He was just, really effective. We didn't, I don't think the coaches or fans thought that he would be able to do what he did. And definitely going to get a starting spot this year. And just to see his improvement off of what he did last year is going to be phenomenal.
All right. We talked about it as well. Kenny Young, he looked pretty productive on the stat sheet, but with so much talent at this position, he may find it difficult to get on the field. Can you kind of round things out for us at the linebacking spot and who you've got coming in and some of those veterans still hanging around in addition to Kenny Young?
Well, definitely with UCLA going to the 4-3 and potentially, still using the nickel. So they can either have at any given time 3 linebackers, 2 linebackers. They played a little bit of the nickel during spring, but I don't know exactly what they're going to do in the fall. But for now, let's say that they have a 3 linebacker set. Definitely going to be Jayon Brown. Another guy who was very instrumental in holding down the fort with the linebacker position was Isako Saivanea. Same deal as Jayon Brown. Was not expected to do the things that he did. He was just fantastic. Like I said, same deal with Brown. He just went full force and kind of opened a lot of Bruins' eyes. The third linebacker is going to be most likely a freshman, Mique Juarez, a guy that was committed to USC. He decommitted during that whole Steve Sarkisian debacle, and he was just getting recruited hard by UCLA and Jim Mora, and his parents were huge UCLA supporters, so he got a little bit of push from them, and come National Signing Day, he pledges his allegiance to the Bruins, and he's supposed to be a more raw form, but he's the second coming of Myles Jack. So that's going to be, pretty good line in the fall. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see a lot of Mique Juarez in spring because him and another incoming freshman, Braylon Brandt, they got concussions they got some. I think Mique Juarez had a neck injury, and Braylon Brent just head-to-head collision. So they were out, and we didn't actually get to see them a lot. But Mique Juarez during the spring showcase, he was not in contact drills, but he did he worked in the skeleton drills, and he actually picked off Josh Rosen twice. So his positioning was really good. His IQ and coverage, looked pretty good from that standpoint. But we're going to see exactly what this guy can do in fall when he's fully healthy.
Yeah, these young backers you mentioned here, Juarez, Toailoa, and Christopher Barnes. It's going to be hard-pressed for anybody to find 3 players at any one position in America out of this last recruiting class, all rated in the top 10 at their position, at one position for one team. That's a ton of talent coming to Westwood at linebacker.
Yeah, definitely. They're deep. I'm not exactly sure if I want to start using the term the new linebacker U, but until UCLA proves it wrong, that's the way they're heading, with guys like Anthony Barr, Eric Hendricks, Myles Jack. It's just UCLA is just churning out, really good linebackers, and they are just reloading every year. And so a couple of the guys that you named, especially Chris Barnes, supposed to be, a really, really tough, solid kid. I already talked about Juarez and Brand. So it just, the Bruins are just reloading at the linebacker position. Now, what I want to see is how second-year linebackers coach Scott White does with the linebackers. He's going to be obviously working with defensive coordinator Tom Bradley, thoroughly trying to implement this new 4-3 system. As I said in our last video, UCLA worked with 4 linebackers often last year, but Dion Hollins and Keyshawn Lucy herself are moved up to the defensive line. So really, it's going to be 3 solid linebackers, or 2, depending if they go to the nickel defense. But what they have right now is pretty good. Last year it looked a little bit weak at times, just because Tom Bradley had to do a lot of vanilla schemes, because he had so many young guys that had to step up, and they weren't acclimated to everything that the defense was running. This year's going to be different, so it's going to be really interesting and fun to see what these linebackers, especially the young guys, can do.
Mique Regalado of Gojo Bruin setting us up at linebacker for UCLA with a talented bunch of incoming freshmen to supplement the veterans that they have on the roster. Mike, appreciate the rundown.
Thank you very much.